Hello, my name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach and the host of the Take Your Life Back Today show. As an addiction recovery coach, I want to share something with you. Let me be crystal clear to leave an everlasting impact upon you. Just imagine being buried alive. You're in the coffin, but you know you're not dead. You don't know how to get out of that coffin. You tried lifting the lid, but the enormous weight upon the lid prevents you from opening it. You then try banging on the lid to hopefully unsettle the dirt so that maybe somebody might notice and start digging their way down towards you. This is what it's like to find yourself at the lowest point of alcohol and drug addiction. You know you need help, you know you can't do it on your own, but you don't know where to turn. In reality, there are people standing by your grave. You just don't know that. You just think you're going to die. Usually, though, people don't think about death when they're habitually abusing drugs and alcohol. In order to feed an addiction, you have to be great at repressing the fear of death. I often ask you, my audience, did it ever cross your mind while you were abusing drugs and alcohol that you might just take something away that God had given you, called life? And if that's not selfish enough, taking your life away, more selfishly from the people that love and count on you most, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, husband, wife, children, even your grandchildren. With this, let me leave one last thought. Don't be like the person that went to their grave without getting any sort of help. Instead, pick up the phone and call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you, I will help you take back your life, for your life is gone. Don't forget, folks, take those slippers off at night, and instead of sticking by the edge of your bed, stick them way under your bed. In the morning, you'll be forced to get on your knees to go look under your bed to retrieve those slippers. And while you're on your knees, please utilize a thing that I choose to call knee mail. That's K-N-E-E mail. Knee mail is your personal communication line between you and God. It is the time when you can thank God for everything that you have: your house, clothing, health, relationship. That's the time where you can ask God to forgive you, to have mercy on you, to guide and direct you daily. Knee mail, K-N-E-E mail. It's equal to an email, only it's done on your knees, and it's from your lips to God's ears. Now put those slippers on, stand straight up, my friend, and walk with God 24/7. Today I want to talk about maintaining abstinence and achieving sobriety. Recovery requires more than abstinence. Just because an individual manages to stop abusing drugs and alcohol, it does not necessarily mean that their problems are all behind them. The reality is that stopping the substance abuse is just the first step in a long process. Let's get this down. In a long process that leads to full recovery from addiction. Those who remain abstinent from alcohol and drugs without achieving sobriety will struggle to find real enjoyment in life, my friends. Such people will be better described as wagon rather than free of addiction. The risk of relapse will always be high for the individuals. In many ways, their life in recovery may mirror their life as an alcoholic. Sobriety, how is it defined? In common speech, it is usually to think of a sober as meaning any individual who is definitely not intoxicated. But the world can have a much fuller meaning. In recovery, the word sobriety usually refers to something a lot more than just not drinking alcohol and drugs. Those who advocate the 12-step approach view sobriety as a life where the individual is not free of addiction, but also moving towards complete physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. Abstinence is something that can be forced into an individual by others. But sobriety requires a lifelong commitment that requires personal effort. Getting sober in this instance is not a once-off event, but instead a continuous process like I am now for years. Dry drunk syndrome, what is that? A dry drunk is an individual who abstains from alcohol or even drugs, but continues to act in the much same way as they were when they were drinking. They are not usually alcohol, but in many ways they are far from sober. They don't usually have any alcohol. In AA, it is common to hear about people who haven't touched alcohol in maybe years, but have still managed to find sobriety. Such individuals can be difficult to be around because they are bitter, and resentful about their abstinence, and do not appear to be enjoying life whatsoever. Though they have stopped abusing drugs and alcohol, they are miserable. The white-knuckle effort of staying sober day after day means the life in recovery is not much at all fun for them at all. Some of their family and friends may ponder if things weren't even better when the person was still using drugs and alcohol, which is a shame. The reason why people become dry drunks is they get stuck in their recovery. The early years free of addiction involve many hurdles that need to be dealt with. This is because addicts have poor coping skills for dealing with their new life. New strategies have to be developed in recovery, and these are required by confronting obstacles and overcoming them daily. It is a lack of ability to cope with the life attracted such people to alcohol abuse in the first place. Just removing alcohol is not going to be enough to allow the individual to find happiness and comfort in their own life. As the individual meets new challenges daily, they develop and grow. Sometimes, though, a challenge comes along which the person in recovery refuses to face. They get stuck and will not be able to progress any further until challenge is dealt with. Many of those who fail to progress will end up relapsing, which is very much a shame. But the minority somehow remain abstinent for years despite being stuck in recovery. Criticism of dry drunk concept by others. The term dry drunk is not often associated with the AA physiology. There are some in recovery who find such descriptions unhelpful and misleading to their folks. The problem in the words dry drunk can be used in a judgmental way to describe anyone who isn't following AA program. Despite concerns about the misuse of this term, it can still be useful for describing a condition where a person is in recovery but is not making progress toward the goal of fulfilling a life. The symptoms of the dry drunk syndrome. There is usually plenty of evidence that when an individual abstinent rather than sober, the most common symptoms of the dry drunk symptom includes the following, my friends. Self-pity is a common feeling for those who are in the midst of dry drunk. There's a famous saying in AA, poor me, poor me, pour me another drink. Denial is a problem for people who are stuck in recovery as well. It is the refusal to acknowledge the problems that means they can't get unstuck. Overconfidence means that the individual refuses to accept that they might need help from anyone else. The individual is likely to turn to unhealthy behaviors in an attempt to escape their dissatisfaction with life in recovery. This could mean abusing other substances or behaviors such as overworking. It is common for a dry drunk to romance their drinking. They can only remember the good times with the alcohol that makes them bitter about not being able to enjoy it anymore. The dry drunk will tend to have low tolerances for stress and hardships in life. This makes such individuals difficult to be around. The person who is stuck in recovery will stop making an effort to build a life free of alcohol. They will often suffer from loneliness and feel depressed about their situation. It is like they have decided to wallow in their own misery. How to deal with a dry drunk syndrome. Recovery from alcohol addiction should always mean moving forwards and towards a life that is fulfilling and enjoyable. People can lose their way, but there's almost always a way back on track. Most individuals will have to deal with at least a brief period where they get stuck in recovery. But there is almost always a way to move forward. It is then where certain steps are used to find the recovery process. Help can be from support groups such as counselors, sponsors, or addiction therapists, or even addiction coaches like myself. How to achieve sobriety. Listen up, folks. Sobriety is a journey, and all individuals need to succeed is to keep on moving forward 24 hours at a time. This means facing all challenges that appear along the way and seeking out the right type of help and support for each and every challenge. As the months and years of sobriety add up, Dealing with life becomes a lot easier. It's important to realize, though, that the end of the pain will never quit, and it will continue as long as you are sober. But it's how you fight that pain is how you succeed. This is not just because they concern us, as most of the fun in life is to be found in the journey itself and not in the destination. It is the journey, the moving forward, the 24 hours at a time, to finding other passions and other goals and relating to other people and finding new people in your inner circle that are sober. These are all the steps to achieving and maintaining sobriety. It's not easy, my friends. It's challenging. But if you truly want to take your life back, it has to start with that first step. Along that first step comes the second step, and maybe you'll even fall. You'll dust your knees, you'll get up, and you'll continue on your journey in sobriety. If there's anything I can do to help you succeed along your journey on the road to recovery and staying sober, feel free to call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you I will help you in every which way I can take your life back. But remember, I am just another human. Include your daily prayers. Include the power of prayer. Include God in your daily activities. And I promise you, between knowledge from humans and the grace of God and His guidance and directions, even you will take your life back today. On this show, I say this with most confidence, that it happened with me, it can happen with you. And may God bless you.